Shalom, giving all praise to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutation as always to the elect. And I wanted to go ahead and get into the book of Genesis, the 30th chapter, dealing with Judah. All right, and this is the beginnings of basically the line, all right, which would eventually birth great men within the nation of Israel, and mainly, all right, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, which his Hebrew name is Yahweh Shai, all right, who is the head, all right, of our nation, all right, and Judah is the head tribe of the nation, all right, and I wanted to go ahead and read through that because I was reading through the book of Ruth, and it led me back to the studies that I had, you know, basically when dealing with Genesis, the 38th chapter, with the tribe of Judah, which tribe I'm from. Now, when you follow the narrative of the Bible, it deals with a specific, all right, gene, a specific, all right, chosen line, starting with the family line of Adam, all right, and then you had Abel, who was slew, all right, and then you go down, all right, you had Seth, Enos, all the way up, various other great men. Okay, Noah, all right, but eventually it came down to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all right, and Jacob had 12 sons, all right, out of that 12, two, all right, were actually his grandsons, all right, who received inheritance amongst the 12 tribes, and, within those tribes, there were particular tribes chosen for particular reasons, all right, and when you understand the tribe of Judah, all right, which means basically, let's go ahead and look it up. All right. Yahweh da. All right. Praise. All right. Yahweh praise. All right. Praise Yahweh. Or da is basically the water. Thanks. All right. So Yahweh gets praise. All right. For what he has done and what he will do through the tribe of Judah. Okay. And if you don't know, now you know, the so-called Negro, all right, here in America and scattered throughout the earth, that's the head tribe. That's Judah. You have a lot of Israelites speaking this madness that we don't know who the 12 tribes are. If you an Israelite and you can't see that the so-called Negro is the tribe of Judah, then something is completely wrong with you and your spirit is off, man. Okay, and Judah actually showed characteristics on why the Heavenly Father chose him, all right, and chose this tribe to be the leader, all right. He was very level-headed, during the time where they sold Joseph off into slavery, which they were all being wicked. Judah was the one who stepped up and said, let's not kill him, because there was a plan. All right. I believe Reuben was one of the ones who was actually, they wanted to put him to death out of jealousy and envy, you see, but Judah was the one who stepped up. All right. To basically say, well, nah, let's not kill him. Judah was also the one who kind of had friction with his father Jacob over sending Benjamin to Israel. Okay, and one of the most touching stories about Judah is when you go to Genesis, the 44th chapter. Now, this was when Joseph was in Egypt and he had become second in command under Pharaoh, and, his brothers reunited with him, but they didn't know it was him. And what Joseph did was he put, two, I believe, vases or, cups inside of Benjamin's bag. And basically he said, I lost it. Where is it? And basically, which one of you got it, if one of you got it, then whoever bag it's in has to stay back with me and be my servant. Because they were under the impression that Joseph, all right, was an Egyptian. Okay, they understood his fame, but they just didn't know that it was him. Okay, because you can read here. I'll just read through it a little bit. Let's see here. Yeah, I just start at 12. It says, and he searched and began at the eldest, all right, and left at the youngest, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Okay, the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. All right, and they rent their clothes because basically Joseph had a little gang. He was messing with them. You know, it's basically like whoever has the cup, which he placed the cup in Benjamin's bag, is like basically, you're gonna have to be my servant. All right. Now, this is a very moving story when you keep reading down. And it's here it says, and Judah and his brethren came to Joseph's house, for he was there, and they fell before him on the ground. And Joseph said unto them, what deed is it that ye have done? What ye not that such a man as I am certainly divine? You see, messing with their mind. And Judah said, all right, what shall we say unto my Lord? What shall we speak? How shall we clear ourselves? God, and this is Judah speaking up. You see, he's at the forefront. He's basically being a leader. Okay. It says, God hath found out the iniquity of thy servants. Behold, we are my Lord's servants, both we and he also with whom the cup is found, because they made a promise to Jacob, basically that Benjamin, which was his youngest son, will return back safely. So he's like, damn, if we go back, all right, to our father and we ain't got Benjamin, I'm going to catch hell, because Jacob, all right, likened Judah into the leader. So he knew he was going to catch the most flack, man. So when you keep reading down, and he said, God forbid that I should do so, but the man in whose hand the cup is found, he shall be my servant. And as for you, get you up in peace up unto your father. So basically, he was acting as if he was going to keep Joseph. It says, then Judah came near unto him and said, O my Lord, let thy servant, I pray thee, speak a word in my Lord's ears, and let not thine anger burn against thy servant, for thou art even as Pharaoh. See, they understood his rank, all right, within Egypt, man, which he was an Israelite. Okay. But, there's a story of Joseph, basically being sold into slavery. You can read up on that on your own. It says, my Lord asked his servant, saying, have ye a father or a brother? All right. And when you keep reading down, basically, Judah does something very spiritual here. All right. Okay. So verse 32 says, for thy servant became surety for the lad unto my father. All right. Speaking of Benjamin, saying, if I bring him not unto thee, then I shall bear the blame to my father forever. Okay. He didn't want to bear that blame, man. Now, therefore, I pray thee, let thy servant abide instead of the lad bondman to my Lord. So basically, he offered himself up, man. He offered himself up. All right. To bear the sins of Benjamin, man, which is symbolic of what Yahushua would do. All right. When he came, all right, and offered himself up for the sins of the elect of the nation of Israel, man. OK, it says, and he let the lad go up with his brethren. It says, for how shall I go up to my father and the lad be not with me, lest peradventure I see the evil that shall come upon my father. All right. So basically, he offered himself up. Now, this act led to basically Joseph. What did it say? Then Joseph could not refrain himself before them all and stood by him and cried. You see, his integrity and him, because he was, he had to have some sort of feelings. But if he was in his feelings, basically prophecy wouldn't have been fulfilled. So he had to go into that slavery. All right. Now he's in front of him and he's looking at his brothers who did that to him, and he's playing a game with him. But he sees the act of Judah stepping up. OK, and basically saying, no, let me be punished for the sins of my little brother. Let him go free. That's what Yahushua did for us as a nation, man. All right. It says, then Joseph could not refrain himself before them all and stood by him and cried, saying, every man go out from me. And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians in the house of Pharaoh heard. So, you could continue reading that story. But, that was just a touching story about Judah, the integrity of Judah, man. Because basically he was the one level-headed enough to lead, man. Levi was hot-headed. Simeon, was hot-headed. Reuben lay with his father's concubine, because technically Reuben was the firstborn. All right. But ultimately things happened in which made the tribe of Judah the head tribe, okay? And that's ultimately where the priesthood will lie, okay? When you get Genesis, the 49th chapter, or in the 10th verse, Jacob is telling his sons, this verse 10, it says, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, okay? And the scepter is authority. The scepter represents authority, okay? Nor a lawgiver from between his feet, all right? Meaning he would be the one to teach the people. That's why the Lord said, all right, happy are the feet of them who bring it, all right, glad tidings. That's why Yahushua washed the feet of his disciples, man, okay? Because the lawgivers, all right, ultimately will start under Judah, okay? And the priesthood of Melchizedek, all right, is going to come through who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, man, who is from the tribe of Judah. All right. He's the offspring of David, which is what this story, when we get into Genesis 38, is ultimately the beginning of, man. OK, starting with going all the way back to Adam. All right. But within, the tribes, you had particular tribes chosen. All right. It says, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, meaning the priesthood would be from Judah. Now, in the story, Moses, all right, and Aaron were ultimately Levites, all right? But the tribe of Judah, all right, will be the beginning of the priesthood that would lead to eternal life, man, under the order of Malach Tazadaq, Yahushua, man. With King David being the head of that church, it says, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be, okay? Which is speaking of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, man. So the gathering of the Israelites will come under him, all right, not under the Levitical priesthood. Now, also we have Psalms 108 and 8. Gilead is mine, all right. Manasseh is mine. Ephraim also is the strength of my head. Judah is my lawgiver, okay. And this is David speaking ultimately of when he had taken authority. Now, let's see here. We got that. So let's go ahead and get into the book of Genesis 38, in which you got a lot of people who approach the Bible with this high and mighty, everything must be perfect mentality. Well, and then a lot of people who see us, they say we're rough and, there's no way we can be the children of God. We're abrasive. We're angry. But when you read the story of the tribes, when you read the Bible, man, it's actually very, very much, what this world would say, tacky and it's just not your average everyday perfect story, man. It's all over the place. There's things happening that you'll be like, damn. Okay, and that all presents itself within the story of the head tribe, man. It came out of a dysfunction, man. All right, even look at King David. Look at his story. It was cutthroat, man. King Solomon, he came from what technically, according to the law, was an adulterous union, man, between David and Bathsheba. All right. But the Lord just had mercy. So we're going to go ahead and get here. Genesis 38:1. It says, and it came to pass that Jehoiada, Judah, went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Adulamite whose name was Hira. So the story starts off with Judah, all right, going and getting a heathen woman, and that sentiment is still in Judah unto this day. That spirit is still in Judah unto this day, man. All right. It's just funny that the story starts off, all right, with him, getting a woman, man. All right. Of the heathen nations. OK, it says, and Judah saw there a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua, and took her and went unto her. So Judah is just, all right, boning, man. He's just getting women, man. Okay, he's just getting, and he got him a Canaanite woman, Dulamite, which that was most likely a Hamitic nation. All right, that came from one of the sons of Ham. All right, so this time he got him a Canaanite whose name was Shua. All right, and he took her and went unto her, man. Okay, and Shua, I remember looking it up. I believe it means wealth. Yep, Shawai. All right, wealth. So this woman, all right, who Judah laid with, this heathen woman, her father, all right, whose name was Shua, was basically wealthy, all right, in which, if a father is wealthy, he's going to break his daughter off, okay? So Judah went and got her, okay, and laid with her, man. All right. And Judah is known, all right, for getting women and getting money out of them, man. All right. Just little things to acknowledge in the spirit. I mean, the story is the story, but these things could all be tied into today. But that's only for those who have ears, because you got a group saying that we don't know who the tribes are. So I guess we don't know who Judah is anymore. All right. It says, and she conceived and bare a son and called his name All right. And she conceived again and bare a son and called his name Onan. And these were Israelites. Okay, they were from the tribe of Judah because their father was from the tribe of Judah. The fact that she was a Canaanite did not take away from that fact, man. It says, and she yet again conceived and bare a son and called his name Shelah. All right, and he was at Chezib. All right, when she bare him, and Judah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. Okay, so this is where Tamar comes into the picture, which is a very big figure within this whole story, man. Okay, but the focus is on the seed, because remember, according to the scriptures, all right, of the tribe of Judah will come the Messiah, man. Okay, and that's why Lord we'll get into the book of Ruth, all right, after we go through this, man. All right, that'll be one of my next videos, Lord's will, man. Okay, it says and Tamar just means palm tree. Okay, basically erect, you know. So when you keep reading, and palms represent victory. Okay, palms represent victory. Okay, so victory is going to come through someone who's going to come through this line, okay, of Judah. Okay, it says, and Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. All right, so he was wicked. He did wickedness, man. All right, and he had a badass son. That's something known amongst Judah. All right, in this dysfunctional society, you got some badass kids, man. All right, and the heathen were around about, man. So he probably followed after the ways of the heathen and was wicked, man. Okay, and Judah said unto Onan, go unto thy brother's wife and marry her and raise up seed unto thy brother, which shows you that before the law, in Deuteronomy, what is it? Deuteronomy, let's see here. Deuteronomy 25. Oh, I think I had it pulled up. Deuteronomy 25 and 5. Okay, and this shows you that the laws were oral, all right, before they were written on stone, man. If brethren dwell together and one of them die and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go unto her and take, all right, her to him to wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her. Okay, and this is basically what Judah told Onan to do, because all right, was put to death. The Lord put his rebellious ass to death, man. And the name Onan, all right, Awanan, which basically means strong. Okay, I like to look up names too, because that tells you things about the story as well. But for the sake of time, let's just keep going. It says, and Onan knew that, all right, seed should not be his, that the seed should not be his, because basically he's raising up the house of his brother who was put to death, all right, according to, at this time, tradition, but law, all right. And it came to pass when he went into his brother's wife that he spilled, all right, it on the ground, lest that he should have seed into his brother, man. Okay, so he did, basically, he disobeyed the law, man. And he pulled out. And you know, Judah is the king of pull out, man. And there's actually a name, a phrase for this term. It's called, let's look it up, coitus interpretus, I believe. Let's just look up coitus interpretus. Okay. Now, we understand that Judah may not have, Judah's son, all right, Onan, may not have been the first one to do this, but according to the history and the writings, basically, that was the first, okay, recording of it happening. Okay. So basically, the coitus interpretus, also known as the rejected sexual intercourse, all right, uh, or the pull-out method. It is a method of birth control in which a man during sexual intercourse withdraws his penis from the woman, all right, to orgasm and ejaculation, and directs his ejaculate away from the vagina in effort to avoid insemination. So there you go. All right, they call it coitus interpretus. All right. Now it says, perhaps the oldest documentation of the use of the withdrawal method to avoid pregnancy was the story of Onan in the Torah. All right. So the Israelites started everything, man. All right. Now, I'm not saying that it never happened before him. It's just the first time it was recorded. OK, just, you know, it's a little facts. Now, going back to the story. OK, so this thing that he did. All right. He didn't obey the law. He was supposed to raise up seed to his for his brother. All right. And the thing which he did, verse 10, displeased Yahweh. Wherefore he slew him also. So here's Judah with two, all right, dead children, man. You know, and that's one of the things that Judah goes through even to this day. Your children getting shot all up in the head, you know, all of the tribes. But Judah, you go through that a lot, man. OK, it says, in the thing which he did displeased the Lord, wherefore he slew him. All right. Now, verse 38 says, verse 38 and 11 says, then said Judah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow, because remember, she was chosen for his son. OK, but the son was put to death, and then the other son laid with her. OK, but he pulled out, so he was put to death. So Judah said to Tamar, remain a widow at thy father's house, which that's spiritual. All right, because Israel will be likened unto a widow in the scriptures, OK, who needed mercy. It says, till Shelah, my son, be grown. So he's like, so when Shelah grows up, basically, I'll give him to you and he'll perform that duty, because it's basically the next closest to kin that would do that, which when you read the story of Ruth, OK, Boaz, he was the second. All right. But the first, all right, who was closest to kin denied, because basically he was like, I got a household. I can't take this wife unto me. So Boaz basically performed the duty. All right. And brought forth Ruth into his house and made her his wife. OK, and then the royal line was able to continue. And that's the beauty of these women who were chosen for these vessels. They are vessels chosen to bring forth, OK, the righteous seed, mainly the Messiah, man. All right. So all call halal Yahweh Bashmi al-Shai for these vessels, for these women. OK, but the focus is the seed they're bringing forth. OK, now, because you got men who will argue all day about Ruth, you know, what nationality she was, or Tamar. Either way it goes, in the kingdom of heaven, they're going to be good. OK, they're going to be good, because if she's a heathen woman, all right, she's going to be with one of the righteous men. I believe they'll be put with one of the 144,000. She'll just be a wife through bondage, which that's a law in the scriptures, that if you see a particular woman from among the captives who you desire, you take her unto yourself. So I believe even if these particular vessels who we're reading about, all right, are heathen, OK, you have to think, well, they're going to be all right anyway. OK, she'll just be a concubine. OK, they'll be OK. All right. They won't have the blessings that our Israelite wives will have, but they'll still be blessed, man. OK, because a concubine is basically a wife through bondage, man. OK, so they get to enjoy some things of your kingdom, but they don't get to enjoy it on a level as an Israelite woman. And that's all right. That's even a blessing, because contrary to popular belief, we're not going to just be, you know, have these sex slaves hanging up somewhere and you go pull them off and they bleeding. And, you know, what man wants a woman bleeding? You ain't going to treat the woman you land with, or you ain't going to have her bathe in the oils. All right. You ain't going to have particular smells. I want you to smell like this. I want you to put this on. You know, this stone reminded me of you. Hey, as they say, it ain't tricking if you got it. All right. It's going to be in righteousness in the kingdom of heaven. And what man doesn't want to, you know, bless his woman with things. But ultimately, it's gonna the Israelite woman is gonna be the top woman, man, in the planet Earth. Okay, I just wanted to throw that out there because you got people with this women thing. They lose their marbles, man. All right, the way that women are treated here and the way that they're valued and looked at here is very different than what they were back in the ancient world, man. All right, their first purpose was to bring forth seed, but there was duties of a woman. The women of this age don't have the mind frame of the women back then, but everything is going to return to its natural order, man. Okay, so look, even the women that we have of the heathen nations, all right, they're gonna be all right, man. Okay, so verse 11 says, then said Judah, all right, so basically Tamar had to remain a widow until Shelah, all right, was grown up, for he said, lest peradventure he should die also, and his brethren, as his brethren did. And Tamar went into her father's house, and she put on the cloth of mourning. You know, and you have to understand, you know, what was going on with her. She was probably pleading to people about her case, you know, all messed up in the head, you know, crying. All right, verse 12 says, and in the process of time, the daughter of Shua, all right, Judah's wife, all right, she died also. Okay, so, and in the process of time, the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died. It basically doesn't mention her name. It mentioned her dad's name. All right, who we read earlier, he was a wealthy man. His name meant wealth. All right, it says, and Judah was comforted. All right, his wife passed away, so you know he was comforted and went up unto his sheep shears to Timnath, he and his friend Hira the Adulamite. Okay, so him and his homie, you know, went up. You know, he needed the company of somebody. Let's go up, you know, to the sheep, you know, and shear. All right. And it was told to Tamar, verse 13. All right, it was told to Tamar, saying, behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnath to shear his sheep. Okay, so it was told unto Tamar, just like Naomi told, all right, Ruth, basically go to the field, you know, around where Boaz, you know, go to his field and basically glean, you know, to set up a point where he can see you in the spirit of heaven, where he'll holler at you, he'll want you, you know, and that's what happened. So we don't know who told Tamar, but Tamar was told basically, all right, because you know she had to been pleading her case. Okay, she was a widow, you know, just like we're a widow pleading our case, man. All right, so she had to have been pleading her case to people. So someone told her, saying, behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnath to shear his sheep. All right, and it says, and she put off her widow's garment from off her. Okay, because there were particular garments that virgins wore. There were particular garments that widows wore. Okay, it says there were particular garments that married women wore. Okay, it says, and she put, all right, her widow's garment off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place. All right, wrapped herself, which is in the open place. All right, which is by the way of Timnath, for she saw that Shelah was grown. All right, and he was not given unto, she was not given unto him the wife. So, you know, maybe Judah forgot, you know, because basically she was supposed to be put away until Shelah was grown up. All right, and then she was going to be given to him, you know, to basically fulfill the law. All right, which was oral at this time. It was tradition. All right, verse 15, it says, when Judah saw her, he thought her to be an harlot, okay, because she had covered her face, okay? So basically, she played the harlot, okay? Now, Judah's wife had just passed away, okay? Now, another time this happened when an Israelite man's, all right, wife passed away, he went and looked for a prostitute. All right, look no further than the book of Judges, 15:6. All right, it says, then the Philistines said, who have done this? And they answered, Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnite. All right, because he had taken his wife and given her to his companion, and the Philistines came up and burnt her, all right, her and her father with fire. So she was burned with fire, man. All right. And that was Samson's wife. And Samson said unto them, though ye have done this, yet will I be avenged of you. And after that, I will cease. Okay. So that his wife was put to death. All right. But when you read the very next chapter in the first verse, it says, then went Samson to Gaza, all right, and saw there an harlot and went in unto her. Okay. So, that may have been a custom, that when men's wives died, they went and got harlots, man. Okay. Now, also, when Abraham, when his mother died, he was comforted, all right, by laying with Sarah, man, in the tent, all right, on the first night. All right. This is the Bible, man. All right. You got to have a grown up adult mind to really, really get into the Bible. OK, got to be mature in the Holy Spirit, man, because the Lord is on a whole nother level than you think, man. OK, so going back to Tamar, she's dressed, basically in a harlot's attire, and Judah saw her, OK, and thought her to be an harlot because she had covered her face. All right, because basically she didn't want him to see who she was. OK, and she had a plan. All right. And it says, and he turned unto her by the way and said, go to, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee. So, just like Judah always, wiggling around the earth, finding box, this is wherever Judah go, he can, find some box, man. All right. The so-called Negro. All right. All of the tribes, of course, but the so-called Negro, Judah, man. All right. He got it with the women. All of the tribes do, but Judah got it, man. Okay. And he's going around the earth basically and to this day, just laying, all right, in different women, man. Okay. Now, the book started out, with him laying with 2 women. Okay. And now he's looking for some more because his wife passed away. All right. So it says, and he turned by her way and said, I pray thee, all right, let me come into thee. See, this is the line of the Messiah, man. You see, it's not this perfect love story that everybody would love it to be and act like it is, man. It's raw, it's rough, it's rugged, it's rough around the edges. Okay, all situations work technical according to the law. And the Lord basically is telling a beautiful story, man. All right. So it says, for he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. All right. Because remember, she was married unto his son. OK, it says, and she said, what wilt thou give me that thou mayest come unto me? All right. So, I mean, how much money you got? You got to pay to play, what's happening. All right. And he said, I will send thee a kid. All right. From the flock. And she said, will thou give me a pledge till thou send it? All right. She was probably smelling good. So she had another plan, man. She like, give me a pledge. All right. It says, and he said, what pledge shall I give thee? And she said, thy signet and thy bracelets and thy staff that is in thine hand. And he gave it to her, and he came unto her, and she conceived by him. You see that? He didn't pull out. He got all up in that thing, man. Okay. This is the forefather of the tribes, man. This is Judah, big brother Judah, man. He got it. Okay. So he went into her, and basically he thought he was laying with a harlot, right? He paid for some snatch. Even furthermore, okay, he gave him basically his bracelets, man. And them things had to be nice. Judah loves the stones. His staff. Those things were staffs were very important in the ancient world. That was basically an everyday thing. There's benefits to walking and having a staff. To your posture, you can use it as a weapon if you run into a situation. Staffs were the in thing back then, man. So his had to have the rubies around it. We're gonna return to our culture, man. We're gonna return to all of that. All right. So he laid into her, and she conceived, man. He got her pregnant. Okay. He laid with what he thought was a prostitute, man, which is something that's been going on for ages. Here it is. Even prostitution is going on now, but you Israelites get all bugged out of your mind when it's talked about. prostitution has been around. They call it the oldest profession, man. Goodness gracious, man. Here we're reading in Genesis, and harlots are around, man. It said he thought she was a harlot, right? So that had to be something he knew about. Now, it's not the preferred way of marriage, but it happens, man. Okay? There were particular women who were basically looked at as cast-offs, all right? And basically for survival, they had to turn to prostitution, man. Hey, you can look up documentaries. That's going on. That's been going on for ages, man. It's going on right now in particular countries. It's going on here in America. That which is then is now, man. There's nothing new under the sun, and there's nothing happening outside of the order of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, man. Prostitution has been a part of natural economy forever, man. Goodness gracious, and we're reading about it. Now you could say, well, he didn't technically lay with one. Well, he thought he did because that's something he had knew about. You know? Damn. The easy way to go about it is to say, because me, I don't like prostitutes. But that don't mean it ain't happening, and particular men who are held in high regard didn't have them. We just read about 2. All right, anyway. All right, Genesis 28 and 21. It says, so she conceived by him. So we have verse 19. And she arose and went away and laid by her veil from her and put off her garments of widow and put on the garments of widowhood. So she wouldn't put back on the garments, and she laid the veil by her that she had on. All right. And Judah sent the kid, all right, by the hand of his friend, the Adulamite, to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but he found her not. Okay. So he sent somebody, all right, to get, basically his stuff back. And then, all right, he asked the men of that place, saying, where is the harlot that was openly by the wayside? All right, because ain't she supposed to be going back into the streets? Huh? Where's she at? And they said there was not an harlot in this place. Harlots don't be around here. Harlots are usually over such and such, And he returned to Judah and said, I cannot find her. And the men of the place said, there was no harlot in this place. Okay. And Judah said, all right, let her take it to her. All right. Lest we be ashamed. All right. Behold, I sent this kid and thou hast not found her. All right. So he's looking for her. All right. And it came to pass, all right, about 3 months after that, it was told Judah, saying, Tamar, thy daughter-in-law, hath played the harlot. And also, behold, she is with child by whoredom. All right. And Judah said, bring her forth and let her be burnt, which is basically a fulfillment of the law, showing you that the law was oral. All right. Leviticus 21 and 12. All right. Leviticus 21 and 9. It says, and the daughter of any priest, if she profane herself by playing the whore, all right, she profaneth her father, and she shall be burnt with fire. Okay. So showing you the law was oral, man. Okay. It was just a way that they were supposed to be, man. Okay. Which we slipped further and further away from that, since the fall of Adam. Okay. So he said, bring her forth that she be burnt with fire. All right. When she was brought forth, because he didn't know, all right, that basically it was her that he laid with. He didn't know that that was his seed inside of her. Okay. It says, and when she was brought forth, she sent her to her father-in-law, saying, by the man whose these are, I am with child. And she said, discern, I pray thee, whose are these? All right, the signet and the bracelets and the staff, man. All right. So once she was brought forth, she brought forth her cause, which, look, I have your staff, I have your bracelets, I have your signet, which we know those was beautiful, might I add. And he was like, oh, shit, So she played basically the Lord put the spirit on her to play the harlot so that she can, he can lay with her. But the Lord had it to where she conceived, man. All right. And brought forth seed. you know, but she was, remember, she was promised, all right, unto Judah's, all right, third son. Okay. But it says, and Judah acknowledged them and said, she hath been more righteous than I, all right, because I gave her not to Shelah my son, all right, and he knew her again no more. All right. So basically he was supposed to, you know, put her with, you know, his son Shelah, but he didn't do it for whatever reason. You know, so the Lord put the spirit on her to get it done herself, but by Judah, man. Okay. So he was like, damn, she got me. I can't even be mad. You know, it says, and it came to and it came to pass in the time of travail that behold, twins were in her womb. Okay. Twins were in her womb. Okay. And it came to pass when she travailed that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound up on his hand a scarlet thread, saying, this first, all right, this one came out first. So basically she put a scarlet thread on the, you know, on the wrist of the one who put out his hand first, because they were going to be twins. So they wanted to, you know, discern between which one was which. So that's how they was going to discern. Okay. And it says, okay, where we at? Verse 28 says, and it came to pass when she travailed that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread, saying, this came out first. All right. Verse 29, and it came to pass, all right, as he drew back his hand, that behold, his brother came out, and she said, how hast thou broken forth? All right. So the miracle of this birth is that one child had his hand out. All right. But basically, okay, the hand went back in, and the other child, all right, who's, all right, the scarlet was not up on his wrist. Okay, he came out before the child who had his hand out first. Now, how do you explain that? See, the Lord is far out, man. This is how the church. This is how bad Judah is, man. All right, it says. And his brother came out, and she said, how hast thou broken forth? This breach, all right, is upon thee. Okay. Therefore, his name was called Pharez. And the name Pharez, all right, means what? Paratazah. All right. Paratazah, breach. Okay. Breach. And this is the line. All right. The importance of the story is that this is the line that eventually David and the Messiah, Yahushua, will come through. All right. The word breach is basically a break of contact. The act of breaking or failing to observe a law, agreement, all right, or code of conduct. And ultimately, you know, hey, that was the name he was given. Okay. Because Judah was supposed to basically, you know, she had that agreement with Tamar, you know, that basically she would be for, all right, his son Shelah, but he didn't fulfill that. All right. And then the birth itself, man, all right, was a miracle. It was beautiful. So his name was called Breach, Paratazah, man. Okay. And it says Tamar was an ancestor of the families of Judah's, from the Herodites. All right. From who came the royal line of David, man. So his name was called Pharez. And afterward came out the other brother that had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was called Zerah. What does the name Zerah mean? Zerach. All right, rising. All right. So that was the twin brother of Pharez, man. But Pharez came out, all right, basically through a miraculous story. All right, he came out first. So when you get the book of Ruth, all right, which I'll go into on another date, when you get the book of Ruth, you know, bring it forth all the way to here. All right. When you get Ruth 4 and 18, you're going to notice that name. All right. Ruth 14 and Ruth 4 and 18. Now, these are the generation of Pharez. Pharez begot Haran. Haran got Ram, all the way down. All right. To Salmon and Boaz, who, all right, basically laid with Ruth to bring forth Obed. All right. Who was the father of Jesse, who Jesse got David. All right. And according to the scriptures, okay, a root from that line, okay, a root from that line. All right, Isaiah 11:1. And there came forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots, which ultimately will be Yahushua, man. And through him, rest and peace is going to come in the kingdom of heaven, man. All right, and we're the house of David. Okay, so that concludes the story. It was all over the place, you know, but hey, that's how the scriptures are. That's how the spirit is. Hopefully I will edify. Shalom.
I said ye are gods.
Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down. He couched as a lion. There's no lion who shall rouse him up. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. Who shall rouse him up? Who shall rouse him up?
Ye are gods. I said ye are gods.
We can tell when something is, we can sense it. How do you think we survived for 400 years? 50 million black people were torn from Africa, and only a fraction survived, and the fraction that survived had the highest development of the survival instinct of any people on the face of the globe. And we are their children. We shall survive.